Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and the third video tutorial on animating a bouncing ball. So we need to add some squish and stretch. So we have been animating the main controller or the master control of the ball. So now we're going to start adding squish and stretch. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and select the controller for squish and stretch. Go ahead and hit the W key and just kind of check it out. We need to start with 0. So at frame 1, we want to set a key. We only have one way we can go with this, so that's up and down. So let's go ahead and key select that at frame 1. And at frame 3, we really don't want anything to happen to the ball because it hasn't been moving that much. So we want to go ahead and keyframe that as well. So we don't want any movement of it stretching. Let's take you through how that works. So I'm just kind of holding that pose. Okay, kind of holding that pose. To do that, I have to have two keyframes. If I go to frame 6, okay, that's where I want it to stretch. So I'm going to type in 1. That's the extreme stretch I want. And I create a key there. If I don't have that holding pose right here, it'll look like it's anticipating into it too fast. Okay, we want it to hang there, and then we want it to stretch. Okay, so if I take that frame out, if I basically delete that frame, what happens is that we get what's called an anticipation stretch, and that looks weird. Okay, you see that? It's like it's stretching before it's actually falling, and you don't want that. So basically what we want to do is we want to have the same frame 0 off on frame 3. Okay, so basically I can go in here and copy this. So let's kind of practice this. We can copy this keyframe and copy it, and then go to frame 3 and then right click over it and then paste. And you can see we've got that holding pose, which makes all the difference in the world to the anticipation of the squish and stretch. So in this instance, we're stretching that character, okay, which is the ball. Alright, so we've got a nice stretch. And frame 7 is when it actually hits the ground. So it's really hard to see that. That's why I don't really like animating. I like previewing your animation, but animating in the side view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to panels, go to orthographic, and go to side view. So now I can see exactly what's happening. So in frame 7, we need to smash it way down. So we're just going to smash it, frame 7, all the way down to 1. We're really going to exaggerate that. And we're going to go ahead and keyframe that. Okay. So on the frame on the way up, we've kind of got to give it a chance to rebound. Okay. So from 7 to 9, let's say, we're going to pull that back to something like 0.5 and hit enter. And that brings us back up again to where we are, to the top. So let's go ahead and keyframe that, key selected. So we've got it hitting the ground, boom, squishing all the way, and then regaining and stretching. So regain the shape and then stretch. Okay, we're going to hit the apex at frame 12. The reason why I know that is because we keyframed it before. If we go into the master control, you'll notice that at frame 12 it is up at its apex. Okay, so let's click on the top again. So basically at frame 12, so frame 11, we need to gain its shape again. We got to give it time to gain its shape again. So at frame 11, we are going to keyframe that at 0. So type in 0 here. Okay, basically the shape it was, normal, defaulted, and key select that at frame 11. And then at frame 12, we're at the apex. That's going to stay at 11 or at 0. So let's go ahead and keyframe that. And then we're going to do a holding pose from 12 to 14 again, and that will be 0. So holding pose, so apex, holding pose, and then bringing it back down again. And so as we bring it down, it's going to go quicker. So at 14 to 15, we're going to have to get that stretched again. Okay, we're going to have to do it at a faster rate here. At frame 15, we're going to do 0.7. Now we're not going to go all the way to 1, okay? Because that would be kind of strange looking, because it's losing energy. Okay, so we want to pull that back a little bit. So this is kind of what we have so far. There we go. And so it's going down. We've got that down motion, which is nice. There we go, down motion. And so 0, 0, and then down motion. Okay. And so we've got that down motion to about, let's go 16. We want 0.7 because we're holding the pose for the stretch. And then we got it's set frame 17 when we hit. And this one's going to be 0.67. So it's a negative. Okay. So we're going to do a negative 0.670. Hit enter. And we've got it squished again. Again, we're not going all the way down to 1, or negative 1. We're going to do a negative 0.67. Okay, so that's 17. So now we've got that basic hold and then squash. At frame 19, we have to have a rebound. Frame 19, we're going to rebound back to something like 0.5. Again, we're not going to go any higher than that, 0.5. And again, we're losing that energy, and we got to show that in our animation. We can't keep having the squash and stretch to be the same. We're losing that squash and stretch, and we're going to lighten that up as we go along. So frame 19, we've got 0.5, and then frame 21, we're going to pull that and get that, regain that shape again at 0. So at 21. So move it at 21, and that's at 0. We're going to go ahead and keyframe that. So squash, stretch, shape, hold the shape. 22 we're going to do at holding. We're going to hold that at 0. Again, we don't want it moving or fluctuating while we're in the apex. That's important. So we're going to go now to frame 24. And we're going to do 0.429 on that. So 0.429. Okay. And we're going to do a key selected on that. And again, we're going to hit the ground, and that's going to be a negative 0.328. Here we go. And sometimes you just got to play around with this. You know, if you think it squishes too much, you can just pull it back a little bit. That's the beauty of this. You can go back and make changes. At 25, it's hit the ground. We're squashing again. Again, you don't see the extreme. We're not going all the way down like that. We're just basically we're not going to do that extreme, okay? Because the pressure, the weight isn't that much anymore, and we've lost a lot of energy so far. So now the energy is now dissipating. It's not bouncing as high, and it's dissipating. So we've got to show that. And on 25, we're at negative 0.328. And then we're going to go up. Now we're going to bounce back up to 27. Okay. And we're going to go the other way. So in here, we're going to go at 0.328. Not negative, but 0.328. So we're going to match that. And so now we're matching the stretch between compression and extension. So we're extending it to 0.328, and if that's at frame 27, let's go ahead and keyframe that. All right. So at frame 28, apex, again, we've got to pull that back all the way to 0. And when we do that, and let's go ahead and keyframe that. All right. 28, 0, and then 30, we're going basically back down. Okay, apex, we're coming from the apex down to a stretch. So 30 is going to be 0.277. And we're going to keyframe that. Alright, so this is what we got. Okay. So it gets harder to squash and stretch when it's bouncing. Okay. And when it's just a little bit off the ground. Okay, we still got to show it though. And you got to be careful with that too, because we don't want it to back up. So when you see it squash, you got to be careful not to actually, so we're going up and we see it come down a little bit even though it's apex again. We got to be careful with that. So if it looks kind of weird, then we've got to be careful. So we're going to leave it the way it is. We can make changes to it later. So frame 30 is 0.277, and then we've got 31. Again, just one frame after that. We're going to type in negative 0.176. Okay, so negative 0.176. That's going to squash a little bit, but not a whole lot on frame 31. Alright, so frame 32, again we're just moving one frame ahead, and we are now stretching again. We're just bouncing back. So frame 32, we're at 0.2. Okay, so now we're going to do a 0.2, enter, and key select. 33, okay, it's going to be 0. And we key select that. And 35 again, so now we're going to go, we got 33. Now we're going to go to 35. 35 will be a 0.176. And keyframe that. Yeah, that's 35. So we've got it bouncing down and then back down again. So we're kind of wiggling it like that. There we go. And that looks really good. I like that. It's kind of wiggling. Okay. Compression. Okay, there we go. That's really looking cartoony. And then 35. And then we've got 35 and then 36. Where it rebounds. Okay. So the rebound is going to be negative 0.025. So negative 0.025. Just a little bit of compression. There we go. At 36 and 38. Okay, 38 is 0.101. 0.101, enter, and then keyframe, and that is 38. And then 40 is where we will basically type in negative 0.101. So we're going to put a negative in front of that and hit enter. Here we go, and then right click over that. So now we got a squash. Back at 41, we got it set at 0. And keyframe that. And frame 42, we have set it a negative 0.05. So a negative 0.05, enter, and right click and go to key selected. And then one last one, we go to 0 and enter. And right click over that. And that looks good. So now we've got our squash and stretch. Just take a look at it from the side view. That looks pretty good. And let's look at it without all the. And so when I get a animation play blast from you, I'm going to want to have you go to show, click none, go to show, click polygons, And you can see if I click off here, we can go ahead and frame that, and we'll go ahead and play the animation. Very cartoonish. Very bouncy and rubbery. Okay, cool. Let's go to the perspective again. So let's go to Panels, Orthographic, and Perspective. There we go. So now we can kind of get a nice little view. We want to put a floor on here. We can, and we probably will. There we go. That looks pretty good. I like that.